Hello and welcome to an actual tech demo cast with KnowBe4. Today we're going to see and learn about new school security awareness training. It's going to be a great session. Before we get to it, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. In that Q&A panel, you can also let us know if you're having any technical issues. A browser refresh will fix most audio or video issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. There's a link to get started with KnowBe4. There's also a link for the Gorilla Guide Book Club where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's great printed resources on technology topics, as well as a link to the ATM Events Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we will be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for that prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can also be found in your handouts section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Finally, one of the best benefits of this event is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. To help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. At the end of the event, we'll look at all the questions, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. And with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today, Jeffrey Jelinas, who is product manager at KnowBe4. So Jeffrey, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation of New School Security Awareness Training. I'm your host, Jeffrey Jelinas, with the product management team here at KnowBe4. Today, I'll be taking you through some of the features of our console and telling you a little bit about our platform. All right, so to dive right in, I'm going to move on through some slides real quick here, but I promise we won't be on the deck for too long. So first, just a little bit about us. So we are the world's largest integrated security awareness training and simulated phishing platform. We're based in sunny Tampa Bay, Florida, founded in 2010, so we've been around for quite some time. And our CEO and a number of our employees are from the ex-antivirus company, as well as a number of IT security pros in our ranks. We also have tens of thousands of organizations in our platform to help us help them with their ongoing problem of social engineering. So we'll be following these three main steps of phishing, analyzing that data, and then also training your users based on that information. So one of the first things that we're going to cover is going to also be some of the results and return on investment that you can see on our platform. So when you do get started, you'll start your baseline phishing test, and that will start at about 33%. So you'll see about a third of your users will have failed initially, and then over time, hopefully get that rate down. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to share my screen, and then we'll get into the console and cover some of the features to get that phish percentage down. All right, so you should be able to see my screen now, and we are inside of the KnowBe4 platform. One of the first pages that you're going to be seeing here is the dashboard. So at the top, you'll see the organization's risk score as it sits over time, and you'll see that right now my console is sitting at a 10.7. As calculated by our virtual risk officer, which is taken into different pieces of information that we'll cover a little bit later when I'm on the users tab. This takes into account a few different factors, though, such as phishing, training, and whether or not a user was in a breach. Beneath that is going to be the phishing information, and this shows the phishing security tests as they sit over the last 6 months. And so you see that my phish percentage did start at around 33%, so it looks like I'm sitting at 31.4 in my initial baseline campaign, and then it has gone down over time. Over here, you'll see the industry benchmark data, and this will allow you to compare your organization to others in the same industry, organization size, as well as different program maturities to see how you stack up against your peers. You can also kind of come in here and click through some of the different things if you wanted to remove certain metrics from this graph and kind of take a look at a glance of how your organization is doing just real quickly here on the dashboard. Beneath that, this section is called the Phish Alert button section, and this is showing you the Phish Alert reports for simulated and non-simulated messages. So what is the Phish Alert button? So the Phish Alert button is a tool that we have for Office 365, G Suite, even Lotus Notes, Exchange, you name it. We even have it as an extension for Chrome for your Google users. And what that does is it sits inside of the user's inbox, and when they are presented with a message they deem to be suspicious, they can go ahead and click on that button. And we do differentiate between whether the message was simulated and sent from us or whether the message was non-simulated. And if that message was non-simulated, you may want to send it over into one of our other platforms called PhishER, which is a lightweight sort program that would allow you to disposition those messages into clean spam or threat to better remediate that threat in your organization, maybe even rip it out of users' inboxes using PhishRip. But that's for another demo and another day. I'll move on down here inside of the KnowBe4 platform. So beneath that is going to be the Security Awareness Proficiency Assessment area, and this is showing you your SAPA scores, or we call it SAPA here. This is showing your score per knowledge area, and then it's also broken down into an industry benchmark as well, so you can compare how your users' scores are to others in the same industry and organization size. And these are different areas where we see that users should be aware and proficient in that awareness of like social media usage, mobile device, internet use, and email security, and so on and so forth. A little bit further down is the Security Culture Survey, or SCS, and what this does is it measures the attitudes, behavior, cognition, and responsibility of your users, and then you're able to also compare with industry benchmarks as well, just based on industry here to see how you're doing compared to your peers. Last but not least, down here at the bottom, we'll have the training information, and this just shows you at a glance the current training campaigns that you have running, and we'll get into that a little bit later when we're in the training section. All right, so that about rounds it out here for the dashboard. So the next place I'm going to take you is actually the ASAP tab. And what ASAP stands for is the Automated Security Awareness Program. And so what this will do is it will go through and recommend to you a bunch of different tasks that you have to be able to get the awareness program up and running in your organization. So you'll see here, it'll kind of give you a schedule about how long you would be expected to take. And some of these are pretty robust, and it'll actually allow you to create the given training campaign, use some mod store content, and then actually just create that campaign right here in the UI. You can also download a PDF of this and download a full program or an executive summary to provide to management to let them know what exactly it is that you're doing to implement the awareness program. We even have a handy calendar breakdown too, so you can see a timeline of just how long those things would take or how long you expect it to. All right, so that's the ASAP. I'm going to go ahead and move on next door into the Users tab, as uploading the users and importing them into the console is one of the first things that you're going to do when you get started here. So there are a few different ways to get people into the console. I'm just going to go ahead and show you here a few different ways. So under import users, you have the basic quick import as well as CSV import. However, we do have a lot of robust user provisioning tools available. So we can do SCIM. We also have an ADI client if you have an on-prem AD that you'd like to sync from. And our SCIM goes across Azure, Okta, Jump Cloud, and even OneLogin as well. All right, so over there, once you have your users uploaded into the console, you'll have your list of your users as well as the different fields associated with them. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a user here called Fritz. And Fritz is our resident clicker, so we're going to see here that his phish prone percentage is really high right now inside of the console. He's sitting at an 81.3% phish prone percentage rate. We'll also be able to see the breakdown of his different phish failures. It looks like he's actually been scanning QR codes, and we'll take a look at a QR code template a little bit later in the phishing section. We also can see the breakdown of the user's training, and whether or not they've completed all of their training, as well as the breakdown of the user's risk and the different factors that are contributing to their risk score sitting at a 66.3. So you'll see here that this is taking into account things like a booster, which is something that the admin can set inside of the console. The exposure, which is taking into account things like being in a data breach, which pulls data from our EEC Pro check service. The job function, so we do take into account the user's hierarchy in the organization, as well as their behavior on phishing tests, and also their completion of security awareness training inside of the platform. Then here you'll see the graph of the user's risk as it sits over time. Over here you'll have the phishing tab, which will show you a breakdown of the phishing tests that this user has failed, as well as be able to preview the different templates associated with them. So it looks like Fritz did click on something for a free pan pizza. I wonder if he wound up getting a coupon at all or not from that. Take a look over here in the training area. We can see the different training that the user has been assigned, as well as if they've completed it or not. And then over here, we have the user timeline, which will show you a kind of the fabric of existence of a user as they exist inside of the platform, and what it is that they've done, whether they've been enrolled in training. And here you see some of these purple ones that are taking advantage of our user event API from our Phishing product, and showing that something was pulled from a user's inbox using PhishRip. So that's shown here on the user's timeline, which goes hand in hand with smart groups, which I'll show you in just a second. All right, so speaking of smart groups, let me actually take you over into the Groups tab here, and I will show you a few of the different types of groups that we have available. So like I mentioned, we do have SCIM and ADI-based provisioning. So if any group is managed by Active Directory or SCIM provision, you'll see it here, can retain the same memberships as what you're used to seeing in your source IDP. Then we have regular manual groups here, but one of my favorite features actually is smart groups. So I'm going to show you one of these smart groups here that takes a look at multiple failures in the past year. And so smart groups can take into account different criteria, and we have quite a lot of different criteria to choose from here. But this one's looking at a phish event, and the user must have clicked on a phishing email more than 2 times in the last 12 months. And that gives me 87 users in my console, and then I can use this group to assign them to perhaps different training or maybe run different reports based on these particular group criteria here. So you can get really complex with these criteria, and it's always interesting to see what customers come up with their smart group criteria. Some things that you could use these for would be like for automation of your onboarding training, and if the user's been created in the given, say 2 weeks or something like that, then maybe we're going to go ahead and enroll them in an onboarding training, maybe even assign them a policy later too, for them to acknowledge and accept. All right, so from there, from the Users tab, I'm going to go ahead and actually move over into the Phishing tab next. So over here on the Phishing tab, this is where all of your phishing security test campaigns are going to live. So you'll have the overview of the last 5 campaigns, as well as a count of the different campaigns that are associated with your console. So looking at campaigns, here are some of the campaigns that I've run in my demo console here. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on the initial campaign, and we'll take a look at some of the metrics that you can see inside of one. And then I'll show you how easy it is to just set one up as well. So here, this phishing security test has started, and then we see the failures in the first 8 hours. Normally, you get a lot of failures in the first 8 hours if you're running your test. Then we also see a breakdown of the failures by day. And then you also see some more characteristics about the phishing email over here on the side, as well as the email template and the landing page that user would have been brought to if they did fail. Clicking on the Users tab, this will be a breakdown of the users that were sent this phishing message, as well as whether they opened it, and then anything in red here is what we consider to be a failure. And you can filter down to see, just who clicked by clicking on these piano keys here at the top. You can also see who reported that message, and so I can see who, in my opinion, actually truly passed the phishing simulation, because they were not only presented with the phishing message in their inbox, but they then used the phish alert button to report that message, following the proper incident response procedure, letting you know that there was something suspicious, and they did actually report it, and so you'll see that added to your report metric here. All right, so that was what you can see inside of a given campaign. Let's go ahead and take a look at how easy it would be to create one. So if I were to create a phishing campaign, I would have just a simple form here. Let's call this my baseline. And I'm going to send that out to all my users. And I'm just going to make this a one-time test, although I could make things go weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly. So you could just set out and let it recur over time and send out to your users different templates from different categories. I'm going to leave my start time here and choose to send all emails when campaign starts, or I can choose to send them over a course of a number of business days, weeks, or months. So I'm going to choose to send it over the course of 3 business days, and I'm going to leave my business hours set there. Track activities, just how long I want to actually keep recording failures for that given campaign after the last email is sent. I'm going to also track replies and see if people are replying to a given template, and I can also keep that content for later review if I wanted to see what it was that they did reply. From there, I would select my different categories. So we can choose a few different categories here. I'm going to choose QR code, maybe some coronavirus, or reported phishes of the week. Just a few different ones here, current event as well. And then we can go ahead and put this from full random, and I'm going to use Ada selected maybe here. And this is actually using an AI-driven phishing agent. And so since this is an example of a baseline, this isn't really a good example of when you would use that. I'm actually going to leave it on full random. But what Ada would do is it would take into account your user's prior phishing security tests as well as its training, and it would select the template that their user is most likely to fail on based on that history. So I'm just going to leave that at full random for right now. And then now down here, you could select your difficulty rating, the phish link domain that you wanted to use, which is the domain the user would see inside the message, as well as the landing pages. And then from there, you're ready to roll. And you can also choose to send an email report at the end to the admins at the end of each phishing test. That way you can kind of see at a glance how your users did, and then get into the console real quick and see how things are going. I'm not going to create this campaign, though, because that would make it for everybody else in my demo console, and I just don't really want to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the different things inside of here as well. While we're inside of the phishing area, we can take a look at some of the different email templates that we have. So by some, I mean quite a lot. We have over 16,000 different templates, and we also do localize messages as well. So you'll see here that we've added a lot of Spanish templates, it looks like recently, or have updated them more recently here. So in this list, you'll be able to see the different languages as well as the types that we have. So here we have QR code type, which is a newer failure type that we've added. And so here you'll see that the user would be sent the phish, and the attack vector would actually be this QR code that they need to scan. And that would be the failure right there. But yeah, we have quite a lot of templates there, and you can also localize your phishing campaigns as well. So if you know the language of your users, then you can upload that to the console, and then from there it would actually dole out the phishing template in the language that your users are most used to seeing in their inbox. Now, landing pages are where the user winds up if they, unfortunately, wind up clicking on a phishing message. We have quite a lot of different landing pages here, but we do have some that look like login pages. So we have some that are phishing for sensitive information that look like, let's take a look at this one here. This one looks like a 365 login. So there we have that. But we also have some that are SEI, social engineering indicators. And what these do is they look at the red flags inside of the message. So any of our system templates have these red flags already there to highlight what it was that the user should have looked out for to avoid landing on this page next time. So here you'll see that the message is presented to them real quick, and then you can see the red flags as you hover over them. And you can also customize those too in your own templates, and then as you customize them in the email template, that's what would show in the landing pages. Yeah, so it's a really cool feature, and I like that one a lot. All right, so moving on, I think from the phishing tab, we're going to go ahead and move over into the mod store next before we head into training, because that's where all of our content lives. So inside of the mod store is where you can see all of the content that is available at your subscription level. And then also I'll cover something called Compliance Plus, which is a little bit different of an add-on for content related more towards like PCI DSS and traditional compliance-based training for your org. So here we have inside of the mod store some things for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is coming up soon. So hopefully you're ready, and maybe you've checked out our Cybersecurity Awareness Month resource kit, which is available, I think, on our website if you wanted to check that out there and give it a search. But we also have some different types of training in here as well. So standard training that we have is like our normal 2022 Kevin Mitnick Security Awareness Training at 15 minutes, which is a good introductory training for your users. But we have things like games, also like funny shows like Security Snapshots. I think they're quite hilarious, if I do say so myself. And we also have some that are like actual real actors, plot, storyline, recurring characters inside Man, which is a very good series. It's already on season 4, and there's 12 episodes in each one of those. And that's really good to roll out. We've got a monthly basis for your users. And then also, like I was mentioning, inside of Compliance Plus, I'm just going to filter real quick here. So we've hit the milestone of 300 pieces of content now inside of Compliance Plus, and we keep adding at a pretty nice clip. So you'll see here that we have insider trading, conflicts of interest, GDPR, those types of training that you normally see coming from HR inside of the Compliance Plus subscription level. Then we also allow for you to upload your own content as well into our platform. So if you have any Swarm content that you'd like to upload, or any MP4 videos that you'd like to upload as assignments, you can do that. And we also allow you to host PDF-based policies and URL-based policies as well inside of our training area. So yeah, that's what you could do there inside of the mod store as far as adding content to your library. And we also allow you to brand things too. So if you have like your logo set, you can configure your logos and those kinds of things, like your color on some of our brandable content inside of the mod store. So that was the mod store. I'm going to move over into the training side of things now. So over here on the training campaigns area, you'll see all the different campaigns that I have running. I have some that are optional content. So I've assigned the Inside Man as optional training for my users to potentially take it while they're inside of the learner experience, which I'll show in just a second. But then I have some things that are, just ongoing, like my 2022 Security Awareness Initiative. So here I have about, 80% of my people that have completed their content, and it's at a relative duration of 3 weeks. So anytime that somebody is enrolled inside of the campaign, we'll have about 3 weeks to exactly 3 weeks to complete that content there. And now I can also see my users and see where they sit inside of the campaign, whether they've, if they're in progress with some of their content, or if they've just not started some of it, or if they've completed it all here. I can also view their certificate of completion if I wanted to as well. Then I can also see any of the notifications that I've sent to that user, and also filter things down to see, just who is completed and those sorts of things. We also allow for surveys on our content. So, as you give out, we have a lot of content. So as you give it out, you're going to want to get some feedback from your users and see what types of content it is that they're most apt to enjoy. And maybe you have different training campaigns based on that user's learning style. And I do see some customers do that within our platform, just because there is so many different styles. Maybe some like cartoons and others don't. And they prefer more live action based things. So you can kind of cater to their tastes a little bit better based on survey feedback. But yeah, creating a training campaign, very similar to the form that you saw over on the phishing area. You're able to go through and select your different pieces of content as opposed to your phishing templates, really, is the main difference here. And from there, you can also choose whether you want to have a relative duration or a specific end date, or whether you want to have no end date. I have optional learning enabled right now, so if I have no end date, that'll turn into just content that is available as optional learning inside of the learner experience. You can choose who you want this to go to, and also we have automatic enrollment for new users. So if you send something out to all of your users and then have this enabled, as new users are provisioned, say through SCIM, they could automatically be enrolled in this. Maybe it's an onboarding training, and it includes something like your Kevin Mitnick 15-minute and some of your policies, like acceptable use and device usage policies. Then from there, you can add your different notifications and pick which type of notifications it is that you'd like to include. Maybe send something to the user and let them know that, hey, you've been enrolled in a training campaign, so on and so forth. And you can customize these as well, just like you can for phishing messages. All right, so I've talked a lot about training, and we've been in the admin console the whole time. So let's actually pop over and see what your users would see real quick. So I'm going to go into the learner experience here, and inside of my learner experience, I can first see my dashboard. So this is what I would see as a user, and I can see, my training progress. Looks like I have some assignments that are needing to be done. I have 5 left, and I have some reported phishing emails. Nope, haven't done that. Maybe I should be using the PAB a little bit more. My phishing failures, my personal risk score, as well as any different badges and leaderboard ranking that I may have in some of my assignments. Now, since the role that I'm in, I do have people that report to me. I also have a team dashboard, and this is something that you can turn on within your account settings, and it'll show the training progress of anybody who reports to me, whether or not they've completed optional learning, which is good to gauge your security culture to see if they are actually taking training outside of what is assigned to them, as well as the phishing test results for the users who report to me, my team's risk score, and then I can also drill down and you can see like who's been failing phish. So it looks like Aaron has the unfortunate responsibility of dealing with Fritz and his 8 phishing failures and his prolific scanning of QR codes. But that's a battle for another day. So we'll move over into the training assignments that I have here, and I'll skip the tour and I'll be your guide. So right here at the top, you'll see this is the 2022 Kevin Mitnick 15-minute that's been assigned to me. And so you can select a different language if you wanted to. If you say I need to pick one, this one we have in quite a few different languages. We normally aim for 34 different languages for a lot of our content. And then I also have been assigned some different surveys and assessments. Then over here in the library area, this is where an admin can make different content available, as well as look at things that are recommended by our AI-driven agent, Ada. And so here you'll see these are what are recommended for me based on my previous history, as well as what's recommended by my organization. And of course, we have a recommended topic, which is currently social media awareness. All right, so I'm going to go back into the admin console here real quick. And then from there, we will wrap it up with the different types of reports that we have available. So I'm going to show a few different reports over here in relation to training. And I'm going to show one of my favorite reports called the Training Activity Report. Here in the Training Activity Report, we can kind of see almost everything that's associated with training inside of the console for a given period of time. So I'm looking at all training activity, though I can group it by the user if I wanted to as well. And I'm looking at all campaigns, or I can look at, maybe for somebody who did optional learning or Ada optional learning from the learner experience, but I'm going to leave it at all training campaigns and all users for right now. I'm going to select my date range and leave it at 90. I can choose my different content types. So if you wanted to get real fancy with it and filter things down by who did an assessment recently, maybe somebody who accepted a policy, so on and so forth, you can filter that down further. And also the different training status that you want to have included in your report. Maybe you wanted to run something for just people that are past due. You could do that as well here. We also have a few different filters that are in this additional filters area for letting you choose between archived users or as well as excluding particular users from this report. So now that I've done that, I can go ahead and click View Report. And now that I've viewed my report, you'll see that I have the different breakdown here of the user, their content they've been assigned, their type, their status, when they've been enrolled, and so on and so forth. But if I wanted to add or remove different columns, you have quite a lot of columns to choose from. So if I wanted to add first and last name to this report and maybe their manager name as well, I could do that here. And it's just real quick and easy for you to be able to go in and add different columns. And now from there, I'm going to go ahead and click View Report so I can get the ability to save this report. And so since I've added those columns in there, I can actually save this report. I'm going to call this my saved report. So that way, now that I can save this report, I'll be able to actually go ahead and look inside of saved reports now. And I'll be able to see that report quickly at a glance. I can choose to download it as a PDF or a CSV. Then I can also take it one step further and I can schedule this and say that I wanted to send this report to a particular group of users. So schedule a report. I want to send this maybe to my auditors or something like that. And I want to send that monthly. And then I can choose my start date and time and choose the saved report that I wanted to have sent. And maybe I want to send them the PDF or I want to send them the CSV. And then I just hit submit. And then from there, you have automated sending out that report. And it'll just go ahead and ship out that report to that group of users whenever it needs to, based on the cadence you've set. All right, so that is the training activity report. And I'll show you one last report before we move over into question and answers. And there are people in the chat to be able to take your questions as well if I can't get to it right here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the phishing activity reports as well. And so this is kind of the sister report to the training activity report. And this is showing you all phishing activity across all campaigns and all users of the last 90 days. And you can see whether it was delivered, opened, clicked, all of the different failure metrics are available inside of here. So you can add QR code scan, maybe the IP address of the failure. You want to see the OS of the failure in particular. And then you can also add maybe the user's phish prone percentage. So you can see here real quickly that you can start adding and building your report and then be able to save that report to then maybe send out on a monthly basis that coincides with your phishing test that you're doing. All right, so I think that about wraps it up for right now. I guess let's go ahead and I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll move back over here because I see one of the questions was how much does it cost? So there are different subscription levels here that are available. So we can go into some of that. So there's our silver, gold, platinum, and diamond subscription levels. Then also the Compliance Plus is an optional add-on. And then we also have that Phishing product as well that I mentioned, which is for remediating the reported phishing messages you're getting into your organization quickly. And so these are the different subscription levels to choose from, and then of course our pricing is done on an annual basis, or we also do 3-year as well, and it's just a few dollars per user per month, and you can go ahead and check out our site's pricing for that. And also, if you want to get set up with a actual demo, you can always reach out to us, and we will be happy to schedule one for you. And so yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for today. And thank you so much for attending our webinar. And once again, it's Jeffrey Chalinas with the product management team here at KnowBe4. And I hope you enjoy your day. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jeffrey. Great set of demos, really powerful platform. Appreciate you walking us through that and for providing all that useful context there. Really appreciate your time today. And yeah, that's all the time that we have. But we do have a lot of other questions that we will forward along to the KnowBe4 team as well, and hopefully they can get back to you on those. So finally, it is time for the $300 Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the gift card today is Eric Tenpus from Wisconsin. So congratulations to Eric. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank KnowBe4 for making this demo cast possible. And thanks as always for attending and for your great questions. That concludes today's Actual Tech Media demo cast. Have a great rest of your day.